Joining me now is Democratic Governor of Maryland, Wes Moore. And we're so glad to have you here, sir, and happy Veterans Day to you as well. We appreciate your service in the U.S. Army. Speaking of Veterans Day, of course, we watched how President Trump today also made an appearance at Arlington National Cemetery, and he discussed the changes his administration has made, both to the Pentagon and the Veterans Affairs Department. And then during an event to ROTC cadets today, you expressed some frustration with the Trump administration. I want to play a portion of what you said for our viewers.
I am angry and frustrated that we are watching a gutting of both Pentagon leadership and VA leadership, and people who have pledged to be able to serve our people. I am frustrated and angry, frankly, that we are allowing this larger disrespect that's taking place, and frankly, some people who are sitting in very, very high positions who seemingly forgotten the oath that we all took.
And, Governor, picking up on what you said there, what is your biggest concern when it comes to this administration and its handling of the military? Is this about policy? Is it about tone? Is it about approach? What do you think is most urgent about what you're seeing?
I think we're watching just a larger disrespect that this administration continues to apply. You cannot say that you love our veterans when you have now cut 30,000 people who work at the VA, whose both job it is to support veterans, and also many of those people are veterans themselves. You cannot say that you love our veterans when you are now in a 40-plus day federal government shutdown, knowing that 1 of 4 federal employees are actually military veterans. You cannot say that you love our veterans when, frankly, now you are asking our military personnel to do things without due process and that are violations of the law. And so I think that, while I would not expect the president to know any better, he's never served. When I'm watching people like J.D. Vance, who is allowing and tolerating and kowtowing while these decisions are being made to the direct disrespect of our military veterans and those who have put on this country and raised their hand because the country asked. In many ways, it is not just disrespectful, but I know I speak for many other veterans when I say it is unforgivable.
And, of course, you're referring to the vice president having served in the Marines. And you're touching there on something that's certainly dominating Washington, and that's what's happening on Capitol Hill. We saw yesterday the Senate passed the government funding deal to end the shutdown. We saw 8 Democratic caucus members in the Senate. They broke with their party. And do you believe those senators capitulated in the middle of this shutdown fight by breaking with their party?
Listen, I want the federal government shutdown to be over. I don't think we should be in a federal government shutdown in the first place. The fact that Washington is failing to do something that no state is doing, I'm not shutting down Maryland state government. No family is shutting down their family. That this is something that is so uniquely Washington, and it uniquely highlights the poison that is Washington, D.C. But I also know this. I don't know how a prerequisite for reopening the federal government is kicking people off of health care. I don't see how a prerequisite for opening up the federal government is asking people's premiums to go up by 90%. And when we're talking about this deal, I'm not sure what deal we just cut. A deal that says that you're going to fund SNAP, a deal that says that federal workers who have lost their money are going to get reimbursed. That's not a deal. That's the law. So I'm not sure what kind of deal we're cutting and basically saying, yes, we won't violate the law anymore. I mean, so I don't get it. It's honestly seemingly more of the same that we're getting from Washington, D.C. But I want this federal government to be reopened because we see the distinct pain that it is having on the people of Maryland. But I do not think some kind of prize is now that my people are going to get kicked off health care.
In your state, you use state resources to try to keep the SNAP benefits going. And what happens now when the government reopens with those recipients in your state? How do you manage that, the state contribution versus the resumption of federal benefits?
Well, I have said that I'm not going to wait for the federal government to figure it out. I'm not going to wait for the federal government to stop breaking the law. And so that is why I have allocated $62 million that is going to be going towards SNAP and making sure that for as long as possible, that SNAP is not going to be interrupted for the people of my state. And so I'm not sure when they are planning on reopening the federal government. I'm not sure if the federal government is planning on adding SNAP as to part of those conversations. What I do know is that I'm going to protect my people, regardless of what is happening with the federal government and regardless of the kind of chaos that Donald Trump continues to introduce into our neighborhoods and our communities.
And when you look at some of the issues that have played out here, health care has been a big part of this debate. It's now being discussed that this December there would be some kind of vote related to the ACA. What are your expectations of what that can be? And is that in any way a satisfactory result?
No, the idea of watching people's health care jump in some cases by $15,000 and $20,000 and $25,000 when their health care is already too expensive is completely unsatisfactory. And listen, I mean, this is something that is very personal to me, where, you know, my father died in front of me when I was 3 years old because he didn't get the health care that he needed. And so I have long felt that the challenge of our healthcare system that we have in this country is not just something that is important, it is something that is personal. And to now see that negotiations are being done on the back of healthcare and watching how people are going to be forced to, you know, raise their premiums in a way that we know they cannot afford, which is going to make our country sicker and is going to make our country more vulnerable, makes absolutely no sense from either an economic perspective or from a moral perspective. And so for me, any frame that is allowing for that to happen would be and would always be for me an absolute non-starter.
And you're also adding some focus on one of the topics that's sweeping the nation, and that's redistricting. You launched a redistricting commission, despite the fact that the president of Maryland's Senate, who's a Democrat, opposes doing that in the mid-decade. And the Washington Post had a critical assessment of that. They're saying Governor Moore is trying to pretend that he's principled. He claims his goal is to make sure Maryland has fair and representative maps and ensure the people are heard. But make no mistake, according to the Washington Post, what the governor really wants to do is disenfranchise his Republican constituents. How do you respond to that, sir?
I can respond to the Washington Post with 5 letters, IDGAF. But I can tell you this, when I'm thinking about what it means to have fair maps inside of the state of Maryland and knowing that our people's voices should be heard, that is actually the reason that I put together a bipartisan redistricting commission, where their job is actually to listen to people. Their job is to making sure that we can have a bipartisan approach to make sure that every part of our state is represented and that when we're putting together our maps, that the people's voices are heard. And we go through this process every single decade. Every state does. But what I know is this, is if there are other states that are now going to go through the process in a mid-decade to say, do we have fair maps? Why should we sit on our hands? But Texas can do it. And Florida can do it, and Ohio can do it, but somehow when Maryland says, well, maybe we should take a look at it too, that somehow we're the problem. So I just think that level of hypocrisy is it's not even worth a response, and that's why I think the focus is, I want this commission to do their job. I want this commission to be able to make sure that Maryland has fair maps to vote on come next November, and I am not going to let Donald Trump decide what our democracy looks like. We are going to let the people of Maryland decide what our democracy looks like.
And while the changes might not be as great in Maryland based on the composition of your state, do you see this as an essential piece for Democrats to reclaim power in Washington with the midterm elections?
I see democracy as an essential piece for how I view the future of Maryland. I don't, you know, unlike Donald Trump, who is trying to rig the rules to be able to win elections because he knows his policies are unpopular, I don't think that's the answer for us. The answer for us is just making sure that we can have a bipartisan redistricting advisory commission that can go and listen to the people and do their work to ensure that we have fair maps come next November. But the reason that we were successful in our election, the reason that I think we saw how Democrats were successful last Tuesday, was because we're focusing on results. We're focusing on actually bringing the prices as prices of everything go up under Donald Trump. We're actually focusing on things like what I've done in Maryland of allowing $10 million to go towards energy assistance, putting additional capital into our entrepreneurs, and actually bring our unemployment rate from being 43rd in the country to now having amongst the lowest unemployment rates in America. So we are focusing on pathways to work, wages, and wealth, addressing affordability, addressing public safety, and addressing opportunity for all.
You know that in true Meet the Press Now fashion, I can't say farewell and thank you without checking in to see how you're feeling about 2028 and the talk that you might be in that field. What you just described sounded like you've got a package ready for a message should you get in that race. Where are you in that process?
I'm very excited that the pathway that we have towards our reelection is strong. That the reason that the people of Maryland are happy with our performance, the reason we have some of the highest approval ratings of any Democratic governor in the entire country is because people see that we're delivering results. We're actually making sure that we can get more people employed. We're making sure that we can create more opportunities for people, that we've had the largest drops in public safety, not just in Maryland's history, but around the country.
And all of that tees up your running for re-election, and we'll check back in with you on 2028. Governor Wes Moore, we thank you for your time. Again, thank you for your service as a member of the U.S. Army. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
We thank you for watching. And remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.